welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And today, our special guest is Angela Gargano. Hello, Angela. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Maria. Thank you so much for having me today.
It is my absolute pleasure, Angela. So Angela is a purpose-driven serial entrepreneur, and she's an expert in creating sustainable and empowering brands. And you have a little special brand to share information with us. But before we get to that, let's get to know first who Angela is. So give us three words and a little bit of a backstory behind who you are.
3 words. That's tough to narrow down, but I would say curious, which is probably what has led me into so many different ventures, and persistent. And then also, I'm pretty passionate about anything I set my mind to.
Yeah. I think a very common word amongst guests who I have on this show is passion. And I'm not surprised because I think when you're rebellious, that kind of goes almost hand in hand with
Yes. For better or worse, right?
Yes, exactly. For better or worse. So, Angela, you have a new undertaking, and as we started talking before the recording, I'm excited about it. You have started a company with a special mission. Tell us a little bit about the company and what got you to start that company.
Yes. So I'm the co-founder of a brand called Lola Arnao Beauty. And I actually started it with my mom, Kathy Griswold, who was a chef for many, many years. I couldn't find the products that I was looking for. So my skin is super, super sensitive. And I was also looking for products that were not as wasteful as so many of the products that we find at the drugstore or, in beauty stores. And it was really challenging to find things that weren't housed in plastic, that didn't have lots of toxic chemicals, and that didn't irritate my sensitive skin. So my mom, having been a chef for so many years, went into the kitchen and started whipping things up. And after many trials and, tests and sharing it with friends and family, we came up with some really wonderful formulas and really recipes because they're made with very natural ingredients, botanical ingredients instead of chemicals. So that was sort of how we got started. The brand is named after my grandmother and my great-grandmother, or in homage to both of them, Lola Arnao. And I hope it's a brand that helps give people the chance to purchase and use products that are more environmentally sustainable and better for their skin, while also still feeling special. I think we love to have those products that make us feel like we're doing something special for ourselves. And I wanted this brand to encapsulate all of those things.
Great. I'll personally tell you, I am big into environmental toxin reductions, and I kind of stumbled on that topic because of a health issue my daughter had at a very young age. And when I started researching and reading and uncovering, I used to be a fan of the fragrance candles, and they used to be all over my house. And I used to use, I'm not going to name many brands, but stuff that was really toxic. And once I started figuring out the health implications, the carcinogens, the endocrine disruptors, the allergens, the neurodisruptors, I was like, why is this even allowed to be out there?
Right.
And I definitely think there is, one, lack of regulation, but two, lack of awareness for certain ingredients that are not good for our health. And I know you're a big proponent around fragrance, or rather against fragrance. Let's talk a little bit about why fragrance is not an ingredient that you want to have into your cosmetic, personal care and cosmetic products.
Yes, and I love beautiful smelling things. So I think that can be challenging for those of us that really enjoy fragrance and enjoy, it makes getting dressed in the morning feel really special. But fragrance is one of those ingredients that can be really challenging, especially for people with sensitive skin, because there's no regulation around what that term fragrance means. So if you see fragrance on a label, it can contain 50 different ingredients. And we don't, as consumers, have any way of knowing what those ingredients are. And one thing specifically with sensitive skin that's important is limiting the number of ingredients so that you can narrow down what's potentially irritating your skin. And I think the whole discussion around fragrance is really confusing because there's fragrance free and then there's also unscented. And unscented can be a confusing term because unscented can mean that it doesn't smell like anything in particular, But to achieve that, the company that makes the product might be using something called a masking fragrance. And that can contain just as much fragrance as something that smells like roses or lavender. We also choose to keep all of our products both free of synthetic as well as natural fragrances. I think sometimes with essential oils, there's this idea that because it's natural and comes from a plant, that it won't be irritating. But in fact, some of the essential oils can be very, very highly concentrated and very potent ingredients. And for some people, that can lead to skin irritations. I think the other piece of health and something like fragrance is that it can also contain ingredients, as you said, that are toxic, that are carcinogenic. And that's true with other things in our skincare products as well, things like phthalates that are potential endocrine disruptors. And I think it's really important to try to limit those and just keep our products as simple and clean as possible.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we don't think that we use a lot of products, but I think we also forget that anything such as shampoo, toothpaste, conditioner, some of those regular products, it doesn't mean it has to be a perfume or anything scented per se to give scent on your body, but just the regular product that we use, the facial cream, right?
Absolutely.
The hand cream, like any of that. And when you add them up, that's a lot of exposure to potential toxins.
It is a lot of exposure to potential toxins. And part of why I started this brand was to limit the number of toxins that we're putting in our body and to go back to naming it after my grandma and great grandma is also a way to go back to how we used to take care of our skin, many years ago, where we were using less ingredients. We knew what those ingredients were. Many women grew up learning beautiful ways to care for their skin from the generation before them. And we've sort of lost that tradition. So I think it's important to go back to that. And I had a really profound experience when I started the brand to limit toxins. But then the week that we founded the brand, I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer. And so that was obviously a real challenge to, be launching a brand new business while dealing with the diagnosis of that. But it was interesting because in real time, we were creating products that were helping me as I went through the treatments, because the treatments for breast cancer can be very, very difficult on your skin. So with radiation, for example, it can be really challenging on your skin. And I used calendula oil, and that helped so much. And while I was using that, at the same time, my mom was developing our solid lotion bar, which is made of calendula oil and cocoa butter. So kind of in real time, we were developing products that helped me through my journey. So I hope that that's something that I can share with other people that have also been through, whether it's a cancer diagnosis or dealing with a chronic illness like lupus or eczema. Hopefully we can work together to find products that help people's skin and help them feel a little more comfortable in their skin.
Yeah, I do know that especially people with cancer diagnosis, oncological type of diagnosis, have a really tough time finding. And once again, I would say there is the lack of awareness that what are you putting on your skin to moisturize the skin as you're going through something like that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's important to think about the ingredients. The calendula oil is magical stuff. It's so healing, and it really helped my skin through that process. And I think that it can help with anything, things that are like sunburn or skin irritation. So we were really excited to have that in the lotion bar. And one other note about our lotion bar, because you were saying how much you love when things smell beautiful. What's cool about that product is that it doesn't have any added fragrance, but it smells delicious because of the cocoa butter. So it smells kind of like dessert. So you can find products out there that smell beautiful and are very effective and also are good for your skin and for the environment. It just takes a little bit of searching and creating.
And one thing I would throw in is, because I'm very big about fragrance and no fragrance into our house, the best that we can, obviously.
It's almost impossible because it's in everything.
And I do want to ask you something about labels, but just to throw in there that, for example, when I dry clothes, I do not use the dryer sheets, right?
Absolutely.
I use essential oils. I put the wool balls and I put the essential oil in it. And I've shared that with friends, and they're like, but it doesn't smell the same. They're like, how much are you putting? And I'm like, really, not that much. Here is the trick. if we're used to using stuff that's very heavily synthetically fragranced and you transition to something that's clean and natural fragrance, it's going to take a second for your smell, for your olfactory system to adjust to that new smell. And if you continue to mix them, you're going to have a tough time adjusting. You're not going to smell that clean smell. You might not be able to smell it, but over time, you'll be able to really appreciate it. So I just want to bring that to people's attention, because I'm like, oh, are you still using? They're like, yeah, I'm still using the, what is that thing, that the softener, the clothes softener stuff, which I don't use either. And I'm like, well, you're putting chemicals and now you're mixing them with natural, and you can't appreciate the natural stuff.
Yes, and actually, so in my career before this, I was a sommelier, so I worked with wine. I'm a certified sommelier, and I really couldn't wear fragrance for, even a day or two before I was going to do a tasting, because it disrupts your olfactory system so much. So I think when you start to cut out some of the heavy synthetic fragrances, you start to really smell all the beautiful things in your food and wine and, in nature. So
Yeah. And I'll tell
again,
you how I have
pretty
been
fun.
so mindful about eliminating fragrance, that if I'm, let's say, in a room that has plug-ins or something, I mean, the headache that I get almost instantaneously, it's kind of scary, because my body has become so sensitive to synthetic stuff that it repulses it right away. And sometimes I
Yes.
have to open windows or get it out. I mean, I got a headache in my doctor's office because they had like plug-ins, and I don't know, they had sprayed with Febreze or something like that. And I was like, holy cow, like this is so overwhelming. So it takes a second to adjust to
Absolutely. Right. I think that cutting down on the toxins that we're putting on our body and understanding that our skin is the largest organ on our body, and whatever we put on it is absorbed, I think is a really important first step. And then learning to read labels, which I think is what you
yes.
were mentioning. Yes, and that's a really important thing, and it's something that we feel very strongly about at Lola Arnao Beauty. Our labels are very clear and transparent, and my mom, as a chef, has a background in working with people who have food allergies. So she loves, one of her strong points, I think, is sourcing ingredients that are safe, that are healthy, and really understanding where those ingredients come from. And putting that very clearly on the label. So you can look at the label and you can see cocoa butter, shea butter, mango butter, just very simple things, French rose clay. They're all things that you can understand. And I think that's important. If you're looking at, one tip I would give, if you're looking at products, whether it's at a drugstore or, you're shopping at a large beauty store, definitely take a look and use resources like EWG, the Environmental Working Group. They have a database that's really great. Yeah, and you can search the ingredients, but I'm a big proponent of doing that both for anything you put on your body and anything you put in your body. I want to understand what the ingredients are, and I want to make sure I'm putting things in my body that are safe.
Yeah. And I do want to throw in there EWG, because I love the Healthy Living app, and then the Deep Skin database. Those are
Yes.
very powerful resources where, so many ingredients are like this long, and I have people like, do you know all of the ingredients? I'm like, absolutely not. There, I think, over 80,000 chemicals right now used in personal care and cosmetics.
Yes, and it takes so much educating. For example, silicones in, first of all, I don't like using microplastics from an environmental standpoint, but silicones in skincare tend to irritate my skin and just aren't good for my skin. So it took a long time to understand how to read a label. Anything with like cone, CONE at the end of the word can be a word that's like 40 letters long, but usually if it has cone at the end of it, it means it's some form of dimethicone or silicone. And that took a long time to understand. It's very confusing. And I like the simplicity of our products and the fact that someone that I know and trust, and I think you should get to know and trust, my mom is actually making these products by hand, and they're with ingredients that are really safe, that are simple and easy to understand. It's going back to that idea. And most of our products are also solid, which mean all of our body care products are solid, which means that there is no plastic waste. There's no single-use plastic at all. And I think that's really important too. I don't know that I feel good about using a body lotion and then knowing that that plastic bottle is going to live in the environment for thousands upon thousands of years. Having said that, I also think it's really important to be gentle with ourselves, because this journey to get to a lower waste lifestyle it takes time, it takes money, it takes, an investment of energy. And so be gentle with yourself. If you can switch one or two products from something that's housed in plastic or has toxic chemicals to something that's a little more sustainable, that's wonderful. Don't feel that you have to do it all at once, because that can be really overwhelming and near impossible. It can be really challenging to find products that are both effective and don't have plastic. But I think this will all be driven by consumers. Like, the more we ask for it, the more products are going to be created. I hope we'll keep creating them.
I do think it goes back with awareness. It's many people, they just don't know. I didn't know.
Absolutely.
I used to use stuff that, and I had invested a lot of money in fragrance candles. I mean, I had that all over the house, and I would light them, and that was like my relaxation time. And I literally had to gather them, and I did it like, let's clean it all up and put them in a trash bag. I thought about donating them, but then I was like, so I don't want to use them, so I'm going to give them to somebody else. I cannot do that, and literally trash them. I mean, it was a very firm decision of what's going to happen. And but it started with awareness and reading and self-educating and discovering apps that can help me. And it's a journey. It's not that overnight you find the one product. Like, I'm a big proponent, and I use a lot of essential oils. To your point, just because they're natural does not mean your body does not have to process them. So
they're very concentrated, but they can be beautiful. Again, it's not an all or nothing with any of this. It's just trying to make the best decisions that we can and trying to find the products that feel good. But I think one thing and I noticed that everyone does this, but I feel like we as women especially do a lot of this. We just accept that maybe something hurts us. For example, we have a shaving product, and it's a solid bar that you use with a brush. It's kind of like the old school shaving products that men use, but to use on your legs or armpits or wherever. And I've had this conversation with so many women who said, I didn't realize that when I shaved, it wasn't supposed to hurt. And every time I shaved, I had red bumps and my skin would be itchy for days afterwards. And I thought that was normal. So if anyone's listening, that's not normal. It's not normal for you to put products on your skin and then to feel, uncomfortable or itchy or red afterwards. That's not normal. So I think we need to not accept that in the name of beauty. We need to feel comfortable in the skin we're in.
I'm in the fitness world, and I have to educate people on the same thing. If it doesn't feel right in your body and your body hurts, that is your body giving you a clear sign of, I don't want to do this because this does not feel good. And we're training
100%.
to push through the pain, go through the pain to get stronger. And that is not the case. And it's the same thing with our bodies. That's your body giving you feedback and saying, this does not feel good to me. Like, don't do this to me.
Well put, Maria. I couldn't agree more. And I think it's about listening to that internal wisdom and just slowing down. And, and also with self-care, we don't have to, I know that it's popular right now to have self-care regimes that have so many products, and we can simplify. We can make it so much easier on ourselves and spend less and use less, and it can still be a wonderful self-care part of our lives. I think that's what it should feel like.
Yes. And I do want to say, because I have these conversations with my daughter, because she's exposed to a lot of social media and products promoted. And, with her age, is my friend got this and she wants to use the body spritzes. And I'm like, oh, please don't do that. But it's also realizing that it's also what you put inside your body, which you brought up earlier, that's going to reflect onto the outside of the body. So if you're eating processed food, high sugars, crappy stuff, microwavable food that's, microwaved, especially in plastics, that does not serve your body well. And that's not going to give you a beautiful skin no matter what you plop on it.
Absolutely. And I think the same is true with skincare. So I remember in my 20s dealing with breakouts a lot. And I had this wonderful experience in Paris. I went for a facial because in France, women get facials much more often. And a lot of times the facials are just simply using really nice products and a lot of facial massage. And I chatted with my esthetician and I told her all the products I was using. And I was using anything I could think of that I hoped would help my skin. And in reality, she was like, you need to stop using all of this. I was using way too many harsh things to try to make my skin, better. And as soon as I cut all that out and simplified and just used less products and started massaging my skin and using the right temperature of water, my skin got so much better. And I think we think we're helping by using all this stuff. And in reality, it's to your point, it's just like putting too much sugar in our body or, smoking or too much alcohol. None of that reflects well on our skin.
Yeah, less is more.
Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
let's start. I can keep talking to you and
I
keep
know.
it's a great conversation and like so much of stuff that I'm personally passionate about. And I do think
So glad.
we need to raise awareness around it. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Tell us a favorite quote or piece of advice you want to leave with us, Angela.
Oh, a favorite quote. Well, I think in life, so much of life is about persistence, as I said before. So, one of my favorite quotes, and it's something I think about on a regular basis, is fall down 7 times, get up 8. So, try new, and I think that goes to the idea of being a bit rebellious and trying new things. Try new things, don't be afraid to fail. It's not about how many times you fall down, it's about how many times you get up.
Love it. Yes, keep raising up and keep taking action forward. And speaking
Absolutely.
of rebellious, what is your definition of rebellious?
My definition of rebellious is living exactly how I want to.
I love
And
it.
yes,
Simple.
and not I'm not the best at being told what to do, which is how I always seem to circle back to entrepreneurship. Um, but I think that's the real freedom and the real luxury in life right now is being able to have choice and freedom and doing what we choose to do. And that doesn't mean necessarily doing something super grand. It's creating a life that feels right for you. I've created a life. I'm living in the country. I have my 2 horses. I'm able to do work that I really enjoy doing and be with people that I care about, associate with people that I care about. And I think that's really the true rebellion. It's not about, I think that's being rebellious or being punk rock is living how you want to live.
Yeah, staying authentic to what you want
Yeah,
to.
staying authentic. And that's really hard and I struggle with that on a regular basis. I think that we have all of these shoulds. And again, I am prone to that, just like anyone else. We have these ideas of what we should do. Like we should be here at a certain point in our lives. We should be, you know, in a marriage with 2.5 children and living in a house that looks a certain way, or have achieved a certain status. And I think all of that is not what's important. But it's really easy to get caught up in that. And I think the true rebellion or the true authenticity is just having the ability to step outside of that and saying, no, actually, this is what I want. But again, that's hard. And I'll have days where I, wonder wonder if I'm on the right path. And that's a normal part of it, I think.
It's redefining. I think that's redefining your definition of success. That's what I say.
Absolutely. And I think success for me, a big part of that is having the freedom to, be able to step away from what I'm doing and be with my family if they need me, or to take a moment to be calm. And also just having peace of mind. We live with so much stress. I think having the freedom to be able to limit that to the best of our ability is really important too.
This is priceless, especially nowadays, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it really is.
Angela, where can people follow you, find out more about the brand, more about you, connect, ask questions?
Yes, well, follow us. You can follow us on Instagram or Threads. We're at Lola Arnao Beauty. Check us out there. And actually, there's lots of great resources on our YouTube channel, also Lola Arnao Beauty, for sensitive skin. And we had a lot of discussion today about fragrance. I talk about that a lot on our blog, on our website. So check us out there. And we've got, if you sign up for our email list, we'll send lots more info, and you can even get 15% off of our products. When you sign up for your email list, you'll get a little code. So check that out. I'd love to chat with any of you there. Ask questions. We always like to answer.
Yeah, ask questions. You know what? And that's staying curious and asking questions is a great way to learn.
Absolutely. And there is so much to learn. And, we even just as we develop some of our products through my journey, I've done a lot of chatting with people that are dealing with different health issues or different skin conditions. So if you are frustrated because you have, eczema or lupus and there's a product that you can't find, please do reach out to us. I don't know that we can always make it, but we'll try to get into product development and try to come up with those products. Because I think it is this grassroots approach to taking care of our skin. And I think that's what's going to move the needle for the beauty industry in general.
I love that. You can customize products based on the need.
Sure, why not? There's no one to tell us we can't, right?
There we go. That's the rebellious popping out right there.
Absolutely.
Well, I am grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for sharing all this wealth of information and informing us about the importance of, using using safer beauty on our skin for our health and well-being. So thank you.
Thank
I
you so
do
much
hope.
for having me.
Absolutely. Do hope you all enjoy this. Definitely let us know if you have any questions and make sure to stay rebellious. See you next time. Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.